Hey BBN, has the NCAA turned into a circus? They guaranteed Charles Bediako's eligibility for Alabama, and the guy was practically already in the NBA. This is quite controversial. Let's get to the news. The decision that allowed Charles Bediako to return to the court for Alabama has reignited a debate that has long surrounded college basketball, and, with each new episode, seems harder to contain. The guy who left the college scene in 2023 has built a clear professional path since then, with formal stints in the NBA, including signing two-way contracts and different affiliations with league franchises. Yet, by force of a temporary court order, he will once again be wearing the Crimson Tide jersey, as if the clock had simply been reset. The strangeness is almost automatic. This isn't just about a flexible interpretation of the rules, but about the feeling that the very boundaries defining what is or isn't eligible in college sports are becoming increasingly blurred. When an athlete already in the professional environment, with signed contracts and NBA experience, can return to college basketball, the question ceases to be about an isolated case and becomes about the system as a whole. It was in this context that Mark Pope, after Kentucky's victory over Texas, decided to take a stand. Without adopting an inflammatory tone, but clearly aware of the gravity of the issue, the coach touched on a sensitive point in the current NCAA structure. By stating that the organization still retains the power to decide who can compete in the NCAA tournament, Pope brought up an alternative that, for many, sounds like an attempt to regain some control amidst the legal chaos that has taken hold. According to Pope, even if the NCAA faces defeats in court, it could still be clearer and firmer about which rules it intends to apply and, especially, about which games and athletes would be considered valid for the NCAA tournament. The statement reveals a concern that goes beyond the Bediako case. It concerns the integrity of the main competition in college basketball, the one that defines seasons, careers, and, in many cases, the very legacy of historic programs. The idea proposed by Pope is interesting, but it is not without its flaws. In a scenario already saturated with legal disputes, any attempt by the NCAA to tighten criteria or impose additional limits could result in new lawsuits. Recent history shows that athletes and institutions are increasingly willing to take these battles to court, which puts the organization in a delicate position. Act to preserve the logic of the system or continue reacting on a case-by-case basis, accepting decisions that often sound contradictory. The episode involving Bediako exposes exactly this dilemma. There is no ignoring the feeling of improvisation. Eligibility, which should be a pillar of stability, today seems like shifting ground, where precedents accumulate without a clear line of coherence. For coaches, athletes, and fans, this generates insecurity and weariness, in addition to compromising the credibility of the sporting product. By bringing this debate to the forefront, Mark Pope plays an important role. He doesn't point to easy solutions or make empty promises, but publicly acknowledges that the NCAA faces a serious structural problem. The absence of well-defined boundaries is not just an administrative failure. It's a direct risk to the future of college basketball as we know it. More than ever, the NCAA needs to decide where to draw that line. Until that happens, cases like Charles Bediako's will continue to fuel the perception that eligibility has become a circus that's difficult to control. And in this environment, nobody really wins. Not the athletes, not the programs, not the sport itself. What did you think of what Pope said? And how do things stand at the end of this video? I want to see your comments. The arrival of Mincchi to the program is a clear example of how the Wildcats coach is shaping his team not only to compete, but to thrive within the competitive SEC. With the unexpected departure of Cutter Boley, many Kentucky fans might have worried about the future at center. However, Stein quickly demonstrated his ability to adapt to circumstances, bringing in a player who, while still unknown to many, carries an intriguing promise. Mincchi isn't a name that immediately grabs attention on a national stage. He was overshadowed by C.J. Carr at Notre Dame, who had an impressive season and cemented his place among the best quarterbacks in his conference. However, this lack of opportunity in South Bend may end up being a blessing in disguise for Kentucky. As Stein rightly pointed out, the assessments of Mincchi, both inside and outside of Notre Dame, are extremely positive. Coaches, NFL scouts, and even members of his former team's coaching staff highlighted his passing accuracy, exemplary physical conditioning, and, above all, his game intelligence. These attributes are exactly the kind of characteristics that can flourish under the right guidance, and Stein has a solid track record in this regard. The Kentucky coach has already proven in the past, during his time at Oregon, that he knows how to develop quarterbacks. His work with young and talented players showed that he not only seeks to adjust the offensive scheme to the profile of his athletes, but also to maximize their natural abilities. This is the type of approach Mincchi will likely find in Lexington. It won't just be a matter of fitting him into a system. It will be a partnership to extract the best from his potential as he gains confidence and adapts to the new reality. It's important to note that this transition occurs amidst a delicate situation. Cutter Boley's departure was a complicated chapter in Stein's brief tenure at Kentucky. Previously recruited by Stein when he was at Oregon, Boley seemed to be a central piece in the initial project for the new coach in Lexington. However, fate intervened unexpectedly and plans changed. Stein handled the situation with grace and respect, wishing Boley the best in his new journey at Arizona State. This stance reflects not only maturity, but also a deep understanding that in modern college football, not everything is under control. Sometimes the pieces simply don't fit together as expected, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. With Mincchi now at the helm, there's a renewed sense of optimism. His decision to choose Kentucky after reconsidering his move to Nebraska demonstrates that he sees something special in this program. Perhaps it's Stein's vision. Perhaps it's the opportunity to lead a team seeking to redefine its offensive identity. Regardless of the reason, the transfer quarterback has a chance to make his mark at a crucial time for Kentucky football. Stein is clearly excited about what he's seen in Mincchi, both in video and in assessment from people close to the player. The comment that they would have won 10 games with Kenny playing is particularly revealing. This indicates that Mincchi is not just a convenient replacement, but someone who could be a driving force within a roster. This is reinforced by the mention of NFL scouts, who are already eyeing his potential. When combined with Stein's track record of developing quarterbacks, it's easy to imagine a scenario where Mincchi not only fits in, but shines. However, success won't come automatically. The pressure to deliver quick results is an unavoidable reality in the SEC, especially for a program trying to find its way back to the top. Mincchi will have to prove he can lead an effective offense against relentless defenses. He will need to earn the trust of his new teammates and demonstrate that he is ready to take on the responsibility that comes with being the starting quarterback in a major program. But there's something encouraging in Stein's tone when talking about Mincchi. He's not just selling a narrative or trying to calm the fans' nerves. He's genuinely excited about what this new chapter could mean for Kentucky. There's a sense that Stein sees something special in Mincchi, something others may not have noticed yet. And given the coach's recent track record, it would be unwise to underestimate his ability to turn that perception into reality. Kentucky football appears to be at a crucial moment in recruitment, especially with Will Stein's renewed focus on attracting the best local talent. Brady, a young offensive lineman from Pulaski County, is quickly becoming a central piece in this strategy. Ranked as the 9th best recruit in the state of Kentucky in the class of 2027, Hull is not just a promising name. He represents something much bigger for the program: the possibility of rebuilding and strengthening the team's local identity. Well, Stein's approach to recruiting Hull is emblematic of what he wants to achieve in Lexington. Since his arrival, Stein has emphasized the importance of protecting local territory and bringing the best players in the state to wear the blue and white. And with Hull, this philosophy is coming to life in a tangible way. The personalized message Stein sent in December, a gesture that could easily be dismissed as mere formality, had a profound impact. When Stein said, "We need people like you here in the state of Kentucky to stay home and make this happen," he was doing more than trying to convince a player. He was building a narrative of belonging, pride, and shared responsibility for the program's future. This strategy clearly resonated with Hull. His campus visit during Junior Day was a clear success, providing him not only with a clearer vision of what the program offers, but also an opportunity to establish personal connections with Stein and his team. The fact that Steve Wiltfong of On3 assigned Kentucky a 60 revolutions per minute probability, indicating a 60% confidence that Hull will choose the Wildcats, demonstrates that the work done so far is paying off. It's a privileged position, especially considering the level of competition involved. However, like any college recruiting process, nothing is guaranteed. The scheduled visits to Tennessee, South Carolina, and Auburn are stark reminders that other programs are equally determined to win Hull. These universities, with their own histories and resources, represent significant challenges for Kentucky. But what sets the Wildcats apart right now is how Stein and his team have positioned themselves. They're not just offering a spot on the team, they're offering purpose. They're selling the idea that Hull can be an essential part of something bigger, a fundamental pillar in the rebirth of Kentucky football. Furthermore, there's important symbolism surrounding Hull. As an offensive lineman, he will be a key piece in the Big Blue Wall, the protective barrier that supports the running game and provides safety for the quarterback. For a program seeking to redefine its competitive DNA, having a player like Hull committed early on would be a powerful signal that Kentucky is on the right track. He would not only strengthen the roster, but also serve as an example to other local prospects that staying home can be just as rewarding as pursuing opportunities in other states. But above all, what makes this situation so fascinating is how Stein is leading the process. He's not just delegating recruitment to his assistants. He is personally involved, creating authentic bonds with the players and their families. This type of direct engagement is rare and extremely valuable. In a sport where decisions are often made based on superficial perceptions or empty promises, Stein is showing that Kentucky is willing to invest time and energy in building genuine relationships. The Wildcats are in a strong position, but there is still work to be done. The coming weeks and months will be crucial in determining whether Hull decides to stay home or pursue another path. Regardless of the final outcome, however, it is already possible to see the positive impact Stein is having on the program. He is transforming Kentucky into an attractive destination not only for out-of-state players, but also for those who grew up cheering for the Wildcats. If Hull chooses Kentucky, it will be more than a recruitment victory. It will be a milestone in Will Stein's effort to rebuild the program's identity. It will be a clear sign that Kentucky is beginning to position itself as a relevant player on the national stage, capable of attracting and developing local talent that can make a difference on and off the field. I want to hear your opinion. Leave your comments. It's important.